Hi Gemini, welcome to your week ahead Taroscope with me, Raphael from Radiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Quick note, these are for your sun, moon and ascendant sign. Check them out for all three so that you know which part of you I resonate with most as a reader. With that said, happy damn birthday to you. I truly hope you have a wonderful solar return. Remember to fill the day of your birthday with a little bit of everything that you want this whole year ahead to have in it for you. With that said, before we start, as always, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity, and abundance. And I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise. They help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. So, for your key to the week, if you are a continued subby, you know Rafi loves you. And if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to like, share. And if you should so choose, okay, and your jumping card is out. Oh my. And of course, my dear Geminis, you get the tower, right? See the way that it literally flew right out of my hand? So the cards hath spoken and they have chosen the tower. Right, so for this week, there are going to be shocks, there are going to be changes, there are going to be surprises, right? There's no getting around that. It is the tower card. They don't always have to be the shock of your life, and they don't always have to be the worst thing that happens, right? I have seen the tower show up a disproportionate of times for people that discovered that they were pregnant, right? It has happened a fair few times as well where people are like, yeah, I'm at the height of my career, everything's going really great with work, that's my focus right now, I'm killing it, and then bam, they're pregnant, and they're like, shit. Like, this is great, but it's not what I was expecting right now. So it doesn't always have to be like, you know, ground shattering, my life is ending. For your actions and options, you've got the Four of Swords. Okay. I do want to stress here. Everyone's like, yeah, you said it would be good and now you're... Right? I do want to stress here. The Four of Swords as an actions card is basically an invitation from Tarot to slow the fuck down, right? I don't say this lightly. I mean, if you've been with me long enough, you've already heard this story, but I'm going to tell it again for those of you that haven't, just in case that it helps at least one person. I had this card come up for me a disproportionate number of times when I was 22. 21 turning 22, right? And as I did, this card showed up a lot, and I was just like, what, why? And I remember getting a Reiki session from this little old lady who practically blew my fucking socks off. She was only yay high, and I tell you what, she was a powerhouse, right? Like, I literally felt like I was going to levitate off the bed. And I was like, throughout the session, I was like, jumping and jerking, and she said to me, she said, slow down, you are always in a rush and you need to sit still because otherwise you're going to have a problem. Do you think I was listening? Listen, you guys know I was feral. I love this. There's no getting around it. Like, when I say I was feral, I mean I was feral, right? Like, yes, I've always been spiritual, absolutely, but I was a feral young man. Anyway, 22 was the point at which I started to really get serious about, through a series of weird and wonderful experiences. Like, I started to really get into my spirituality, like, at a much deeper level. And prior to that, this card showed up for me a lot, and I had an accident. And I ended up having to sit still for 6 weeks. There was literally nothing that I could do, right? So you've got the Tower as your key to the week. You've got the Four of Swords as your actions and options. This is what you do. Sit still, right? Do nothing. Take some time out. Regroup. Ride this week. Maybe, just maybe, nothing happens this week, and that would be great because you decided to listen and sit still and do nothing. When it comes to the options that are available to you, there's a chance for you to take your foot off the pedal for a moment, and my advice would be to take it. For your communications and conversations, you've got the King of Cups, usually a water sign male, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. This person can play a supportive role for you. This person coming into or back into your life could be a bit of a surprise that you don't expect, especially on a professional level. Now, for those of you that are studying or in some form of academia, this with the Four of Swords, it's about observing so for a lot of you, it looks like there's been a recurring idea that keeps coming up that you keep putting down. It's going to get to the point where it will get really loud and you won't be able to ignore it anymore. So my advice would be to pay attention to it. When it comes to those of you that are employed by somebody else, this looks like a boss is going to announce that they're leaving, a supervisor, somebody that you really wouldn't expect. This week they will, you're going to get the message. It's like, oh, did you know so-and-so is leaving? It may even be that somebody leaves under really weird or, hush-hush circumstances. I wouldn't be surprised about this. For those of you that are business owners, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people that work for themselves, this is about your creative expression, right? Now, for some of you, you might have a bit of a crisis moment this week where you almost kind of say to yourself, right, fuck it, big red line through everything, we're starting again. That's probably not the best way to go. And I would say if that's how you feel this week, ride it out until next week. When I say sit still, I don't just mean stop rushing around. I mean park it, right? All of those knee-jerk reactions that you've got, all of those, no, I have to do everything different, I've got to change it, it needs to be this, it needs to be that. Take a moment. Take a beat, right? This week, if it's possible, do the bare minimum of what you have to do. And then next week, make your choices and your moves and all the rest of it. If you are celebrating your birthday this week, have a damn blast. But make sure you have, just make sure that you're present for it. For those of you that are retired and no longer working for any reason, this week, if you have been resting and you have been taking time out, it's possible that someone or something is going to come along this week to kind of, they're going to piss on your parade, all right? Like there's going to be something or someone that takes you out of this and you're like, oh, now I have to deal with this as well, all right? For your love and relations, you've got the World card. If you are single, excuse me, if you're single, on or through your travels, you connect with somebody that we would consider worldly. This person is going to be at least 5+ years older than you. It's very likely that this person is going to be a water sign, and it's also very possible that you could meet them either with work, through work, or in some form of a professional setting. For those of you that are partnered, married, or in long-term commitments, this may be that either you or your partner needs to travel very much spontaneously in a way that's not planned for something that you hadn't foreseen. Now, I got to be really honest, because of the other signature that is in these cards as well, there is going to be news of a funeral that reaches your ears this week, and you will be very surprised at who the person is, right? So don't be surprised if you get a message from someone and they're like, oh, so-and-so, there's a wake or a funeral for so-and-so. You might be really surprised about this and it might hit you hard, okay? I really hope I'm wrong on this front, but it is a possibility and there's no getting around it. For your money and materials, you've got the Three of Swords. Fuck. Okay, so sorry not to panic you. If you've been with me long enough, you know, right? If you're the sort of person that can't handle challenging news, this is not the channel for you, right? So I'm just giving you fair warning, heads up right now. It's best you switch off before I say what I'm about to say, right? If you can't handle the fact that life is sometimes hard, messy, painful, and gritty, this is not, I repeat, not the channel for you, right? I talk about the whole spectrum of life. If you're not interested in that, that's cool. Thank you so much for being here. I invite you to leave. Now, there's no getting around this, right? When it comes to Gemini readings, I'm always very aware of what takes place in them because Gemini is the sign that rules the media. So very often when an interruption happens, so if you've been with me long enough, you know that this happens a fair amount of times. Every so often, tarot will interrupt a sign reading and say, hey, listen, I've got this thing about the world that I want to talk to you about. This is an interruption, right? On the wider world stage, we are going to see a disruptive, potentially explosive event take place And I'm really sorry to say, but it looks like there's going to be a fair amount of people that pass because of this. I really hope I'm wrong on this front. I really, really do. I feel like it will be something of an explosive nature. Now, that can mean the obvious, but it could also mean something like a volcano. With this amount of swords and the world card here, it's also possible that this will be localized to a nation, right? So this will happen within a specific country. There are a few things that kind of speak to me here. And that, I don't really want to go into any more of it than that because I don't want to give it that much more power. Now, to bring it back to the microcosmic level for you, Gemini, there's a chance here for you to free yourself from some kind of a financial burden, right? Whether this is an old debt, could be forgiven, removed, or maybe you pay your final payment this week. It's also possible that there could be something that you look at and you think, you know what, this is not worth what I'm paying for it, so you stop paying into it. There's something financial removed this week that releases a burden from you. So that could actually be very beneficial for you in the long run. When it comes to your physical health and vitality, look, this week, if you have, because this can speak to like a surprise, not a surprise, it can speak to like not spontaneous, a sudden, that's it, right? This could speak to like a sudden need for a minor surgery. It's not going to be for everyone, right? You'll know if I'm talking to you. It's not going to be massive, but it could be something that comes up and you're like, oh, okay, and then all of a sudden your doctor says, yeah, I think we need to get you in to get this removed. If you are waiting for test results this week, the chances are that you will either need to take a biopsy or you will have to have something removed. All right, like that's how I'm seeing this shown up. For those of you that are business owners, when it comes to your home and environment, for a lot of you, there's potentially something kicking off in your neighborhood. This is something that you do need to watch out for. It could, one of the ways that this could actually show up is it could be a mass blackout. Right, so it wouldn't surprise me if you lose power this week, and for a select few of you, or should I say for this thing on the wider world stage, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a storm, but not like oh yeah, there was some thunder and lightning. I'm talking of like a storm that touch wood, but potentially takes lives. There's a really adverse weather pattern here coming through. All right, so this week, please look after yourselves in all ways, shapes and forms. And this week is kind of a batten down the hatches, right? And just kind of ride this week out. This is kind of like a stormy week in general. Okay, with that said, spelling you safe, loving you hard. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.